Let's go, baby. It's another one for the books. Hey y'all, thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. That was me hiking the 4-pass loop solo in Maroon Bells Wilderness near Aspen in Colorado. That was back in August of 2023. I've just been sitting on the footage for the past 2 years. It was an incredible hike, absolutely breathtaking, literally and figuratively. Can't say enough good things about the hike itself. Just the way the trail is magically woven through the landscape itself, just through the luscious green grass, the bountiful trees, the abundant wildflowers out there. It was absolutely incredible, and I think everyone should see it for themselves. It's the most beautiful hike I've done so far yet, and it's also the most challenging hike I've done so far. On the hike, you will cross over 4 passes, and hence the name, and each pass is over 12,000 feet in elevation, so that's pretty much what makes it most challenging. I'm gonna go through what you need to do the hike yourself if you wanna do the 4-pass loop yourself, and also my itinerary, so if you wanna copy it or make it better, I'm gonna explain that here in this video. So first and foremost, the wilderness is on a permit system if you plan on sleeping out there overnight. And what makes this area a little bit different than other areas or other parks is this Maroon Bell Wilderness is divided up into multiple different zones. So you will need a permit for a specific day and a specific zone. So for example, I did 3 days, 2 nights. I had 2 permits for the 2 nights so I could sleep out there in the wilderness. And the first day I hiked about 8 miles. I was in upper snowmass zone. I had a permit for that day in that zone. And the next day I hiked another 8 miles. I was in a different zone. So I had a permit for that zone and for that day. So you will need a permit. Here's the website for it. Here is a link to a map as well too, so you can help plan your hike and see the names of the zones, so you can claim the permits when they do become available. And like I said, it is a very popular trail, so you definitely want to make sure you have a plan when the permits do open, and I would suggest more than one plan. And this is optional. I did drive to the trailhead myself. If you do plan on driving to the trailhead and leaving your car overnight at the trailhead, you do need an overnight parking permit for your vehicle, and those do go quickly as well too. Here's the link where you can get the overnight parking permit for your vehicle. If you don't get an overnight parking permit because they run out or you want to use something else, there is a shuttle service at a nearby town. You can park your car there, take a shuttle service, and it'll bring you into the wilderness area where you can begin the 4-pass loop. Going into the itinerary, I did fly from Houston into Denver International Airport in the morning on Sunday. Picked up a rental car, drove to REI, picked up bear spray, picked up an Ursack bag. You do need a bear approved container for the wilderness for your food and other odors. The chances of you seeing a bear out there, I think, are pretty slim during the in season. It's just a very busy trail. You're gonna see a lot of other backpackers and day hikers and trail runners. But there is caution, and you do wanna follow the rules. And then I always just take bear spray on any trip I go on. After exploring Denver for a little bit, I did make my way towards the trailhead. I was gonna be starting my hike out of the West Maroon Lake trailhead. So that's about 4.5 hours, 5 hours from Denver. So I made my way towards the trailhead. I think I drove about 2.5 hours to this small town called Gypsum. Got an Airbnb for the night, set up shop, got a good night's rest, prepared for the hike the next day. So day 1 began at 4 a.m., packed up the car, loaded my stuff from the Airbnb, made my way towards the trailhead, which was West Maroon Lake trailhead. Had about an hour and a half from the Airbnb to get there. You drive through Aspen, and after you drive through Aspen, you're heading towards the wilderness at this point, and it's very, very beautiful. I made it to the trailhead, the Maroon Lake trailhead, around 6 a.m. Got ready. Right before I set off for the trail, I did see a fox in the parking lot. Thought it was really cool. Thought it was a good sign for what's about to come. And shortly after, I began the 4-pass loop trail. Day 1 was a low mileage day, 8.8 miles. I decided to do the 4-pass loop trail counterclockwise instead of clockwise, because I wanted to get Buckskin Pass out of the way first on day 1 while my legs were fresh. I believe Buckskin Pass is the hardest hike, or is the hardest pass to go over. It's the steepest and the most elevation gain in a short amount of time out of all the other passes. So, and also I felt like after doing that pass first, the last 3 passes felt easier to go over. So I felt like it was a good idea. So day 1, 8.8 miles. I made it to camp I made it to the end of my zone, which was upper snowmass zone, around 4 p.m. So I didn't want to keep going. I could have kept going, but the next zone I didn't have a permit for. So I set up camp around 4 p.m., just really rested until about 6 p.m. and then went to bed. And then day 2, woke up around 8 a.m. It was a low mileage day as well too, 8.3 miles. Day 2 was really cool because you get to pass by Snowmass Lake. And that's where most people try to get their permits for that specific zone, just because you have lake views at that point. But Snowmass Lake, very beautiful, saw that. And then right after you see Snowmass Lake, you go up to the second pass of the 4-pass loop trail. And that pass is Trail Router Pass. I don't think I have much footage up there. It was very windy up there, so I didn't want to record on the tripod. I think all I have is a selfie video of the wind blowing at the top. But after that, I made my way down, set up camp around like 6 p.m. Ate dinner, tried to get a good night's rest that night just because day 3 was gonna be the more strenuous day. So day 3, I woke up around, I think 5 a.m. Started packing up camp at 6 a.m. and I set off shortly after. Day 3 was a higher mileage day, about 13.8 miles and 2 passes left to cross over. I think shortly after setting off from camp, saw a marmot in the wild. That was really cool. Never seen one in the wild. And then I think by 10:30 a.m. I was over at the 3rd pass, the first pass of the day, which was Frigid Air Pass. And then about 2 hours later, I made it over the last pass of the trail. The second pass of the day was West Maroon Pass, and that's actually the highest point on trail. It's incredibly beautiful. And just the landscape the last day was absolutely incredible. Kind of just felt like I was in a different movie or different world. So made it to my car, made it back to the trailhead about 4 p.m. So it was about a 10-hour hiking day. Was very pleased, very glad to be back. It was a very strenuous hike, very challenging. Like I said, the hardest hike that I've done. So it was very emotional. Didn't cry. I have cried on hikes before, but not this one. There was someone nearby, so didn't really want to cry, but it was a great feeling to finish. My number 1 tip, I would probably acclimatize better than I did for this loop, especially if you're coming from sea level. You notice from my story, I flew in from Houston in the morning into Denver in the morning, and about 30 hours later, I was above 10,000 feet in elevation hiking the 4-pass loop. That wasn't the smartest thing to do. Altitude sickness is very real. Thank God I only had shortness of breath, but I would say the whole hike I did feel like I was just short of breath the whole time. So not the most fun. So I would definitely take maybe 1 or 2 days in Aspen at an Airbnb to acclimatize before starting the hike yourself. When's the best time to go? I did this in the beginning of August. I think that was the best time to go. The green is vibrant. The wildflowers have bloomed. It's absolutely perfect. I had a perfect 3 days out there on the trail. Clear skies, blue skies. So I think the best time of the year to do it is August, late July. I feel like if you're doing it before July, it might become a little sketchy as far as there might be a lot of snow over the passes, depending how the snowfall is that year in that area. So I would just check that if you do try to do it in June, but most of the time you're safe if it's late July and especially in August. And for the weather, like I said, it was perfect. Clear skies, sunny, no thunderstorms, rain or anything like that for me. So I was truly blessed. But as far as like the temperature out there, obviously you're at higher elevation. So in the mornings it was pretty chilly. I would suggest a light jacket, and then by 11 a.m., 12 p.m., you're warmed up enough. It's warm enough outside that you'll probably shed down to your base layer. So for carrying water, I carried a 1 liter Catadin water filter out there on trail with me. It was enough. There's an abundant amount of water sources for you to refill up on, so you don't need to carry like a gallon or 3 liters on you. And if you have any more questions or anything like that, you can ask me in the comments. Also too, another hack, another great tip is I would join the 4-Pass Facebook group. That's what I did, got a lot of information from there. People there will be asking questions. People will remind you about permit dates opening. Pretty much everything you need to know is in that group. You can search previous questions, you can ask your own question, but it's all there if you need to. But I think it's a great idea to join that group. A little about me, I just moved to Colorado. I am from Texas, Spring, Texas. I got into hiking back in 2020. I came across a hiking video by Craig Adams. He's a phenomenal creator, creates great hiking videos. This video here is highly influenced by him, so I appreciate him. Saw one of his videos during COVID. I was like, man, I can do that myself. So after watching that video, I went on some day hiking trips, started going to different states to hike, started going to national parks to hike, built up my confidence, and I think about a year later, I went on my first backpacking trip in Sawtooth Wilderness in Idaho, and it was a complete disaster, and I've been hooked ever since then. Been on many backpacking trips since then, and what's in store for this channel is many more backpacking trips, some day hikes. I'm into fly fishing, so there will be some fly fishing videos as well too, and mixed in with my hikes. So that will be in store for this channel. Thank you for being here. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, positive, negative. I appreciate you being here, and I'll see you at the next video.